the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast. I'm your host, Noah Love, and tonight we will be going over Sunday college basketball recap and just basically the weekend. Some bubble teams made an interesting case. We will talk about that and some of the top teams still stating their case for the one seed, and some other ones are sliding. Let's just get straight into it. The upset of the day came in Bloomington, Indiana, 1:30 p.m. CBS Eastern Time, called by Andrew Catalon and Steve Lapis. Indiana storms back from being down 12. They outscore Purdue 48-21. That's a 27-point difference to beat their in-state rival 73-58 in Mike Woodson's last game against Purdue, some of the seniors' last game against Purdue. Let's I told you guys this was a possibility when we were talking about it last weekend, that this was a very that I said rivalry games are weird. I didn't even know it was the 40th anniversary of Bob Knight's chair throw. I didn't know that. Rivalry games are weird. You're kind of Purdue kind of. This is after the Wisconsin loss. They had lost two in a row. I didn't. They lost to Michigan State. I'm like, look, three in a row. They're kind of on a skid here. Indiana's going to have some time off after the tough loss against UCLA, but they beat Michigan State. There's there's a decent chance. Now, I thought Purdue would win, because what have you seen from Indiana that would suggest that they wouldn't? But I also said rivalry games are just weird, and with Indiana still playing for something in terms of you want to play in the Big Ten tournament, because remember the final three teams, if you're in the final three of the Big Ten, you don't go to the Big Ten tournament this year. And then also they weren't far off the bubble. A lot of people are saying they will be in if it started today because of the win. And to be honest, I mean, if this was in past years, I think because the bubble is not as strong as it's been, they'd probably be out. But people are going to say, well, 16-11, 7-9. All 11 of their losses have come in quad one. They're 12-0 against quad 2, 3, and 4. And then when you play in the Big Ten, look, Ohio State on the road, Ohio State, that's looking like a good win. But what's crucial is you have two big wins. You have a win out on the road against Michigan State, who will potentially be a top four seed, and then you have a home win against Purdue, who will also potentially be a top four seed, and you still have. I don't know if at home against Ohio State is a quad one game, but I know they have one more, which is at Oregon. If you go on the road and beat Oregon somehow, Indiana right now here they've got a chance for the dance. Their remaining schedule here with the win. I'll get into the game breakdown and what I saw in a minute. Their remaining schedule here. They've got Penn State at home. They're on the road at Washington, at Oregon, Ohio State at home. 2 weeks left in the regular season. Winnable games, all of them, to be honest. Winnable. IU will probably be favored in 3 of the 4. If Indiana, they've got Penn State here, who's in the next, who's in obviously the bottom half. They beat them earlier in the season, the Palestra. which was a tough game. Penn State's actually won their last two games. They beat Nebraska at home and on the road at Minnesota, so they're feeling some sort of confidence. But yeah, Indiana, you gotta feel good about the way you play. They're at Washington. Washington, I don't think is really good either, or not great either. Yeah, they're 13 and 14, 4 and 12 in the conference. That's a game you oughta. That starts the mini Pacific Northwest road trip. Then you're at Oregon, and then you've got home at Ohio State. If you if you somehow go now, I think the best case scenario, I think they're gonna go 3-1. I think they'll go 3-1, maybe 2-2. I think they'll handle their business. I think the game they lose is at Oregon. Oregon's really good. I think road trip, West Coast. I just think Oregon's already tougher, as tough as it is, but I think they'll handle business against Penn State and Washington. And now Ohio State game, I think they may get it done. But to toss up, if you remember when those two teams played earlier this season, came down to overtime, a shot by Bruce Thornton to win it didn't happen. Didn't happen. So yeah, let's just get into the game breakdown here. Look, the first half, Purdue started off slow, but then it got it rolling. Fletcher Laurier, he hit some threes. Miles Colvin hit some threes. They were off in transition, and was Indiana. It was the same story. Pretty good start, decent start. His substitution pattern, he played Mbako, Renew, Ballo together. Purdue goes on a run. There was a stretch where the offense just could not do anything. Indiana in the second half came out, and they was a different type of intensity, and they just D'd up Purdue. Braden Smith was not good today. This is the worst game I've seen Braden Smith have all season. He was 8 points, 2 of 8 from the field, 5 assists. He had 6 turnovers. Credit to Miles Rice. He really made things tough in the second half. I like the adjustment where IU went to a full court press. They started pressing. They started denying the ball. There was a point and a half where they even went to some zone. Indiana took Purdue completely out of its game. Like, it was a really incredible defensive performance. And look, when Fletcher Laurier had 20. I think he played well today. But you're not gonna win when Trey Kaufman-Wren has 9 points, but he fouls out. He only has 4 boards. You got it. Obviously, Braden Smith has to play well. CJ Cox did not have a good game at all. And in the bench, you're not really getting Miles Colvin. He played well, but it was 11. But Purdue, the reason they've gone on this losing streak is they don't have an inside presence right now. Trey Kaufman-Wren out on defensively, he's not a shot blocker. He's just not. And offensively, look, he's still really good. He had a rough game, but he had a rough game today. But in terms of just defensively, teams are getting to the rim at will against them. So they're gonna have to find a way to figure that out. Because they're just not. They will be out first game if they can't figure out how to stop the line drives, stop teams from getting penetration in the paint and just getting layups at will. They're in fifth. They're tied for fifth right now in the Big Ten. they have played their way out of the Big Ten championship. I think that's dead. They have almost played their way out of a double bye. Now Oregon beating Wisconsin helped. It helped in terms of that, but I'm looking at this. Bro. That UCLA game on February 28th, I believe that's a Friday night. Yeah, I believe that's a Friday night. That's a big game. It's a big game. It's a big game because yes, both teams are fighting for the double it both teams are fighting for the double bye. Now, it could end up that both teams don't even get the double bye in the Big Ten tournament. It could just be one, but the winner of that game has a better chance to potentially maybe up in Wisconsin and find a way to fight and get that double bye. I mean, if you're Purdue, you're UCLA at home, Rutgers at home, and then you end the season on a Friday night at Illinois, which Illinois has not. They got throttled by Duke. They're not. They could be in danger if they don't pick it up here late. But yeah, I just thought Indiana really did a great job on the defensive end. There was a point where they were 20. It was 28 to 3.5. No, this is not the Super Bowl. They were 28 to 3.5. So I just think Indiana, they didn't shoot the three ball well. But when you're able to force turnovers and you're able to limit the team Purdue to one shot, and you're able to get out in transition and run, and really they just dominated points in the paint. That's all it was. They shot efficiently. Now, the free throws, they were 13 of 20, 65%. It's not great. But in the end, and Indiana has been close here. Look, I know they beat Michigan State, but they've been close here. Maryland, that game stung. They had them dead to rights. Look at what Maryland's doing now. They've went on a run. Indiana had them dead to rights. You look at the UCLA game where if you just make a layup or an open three, Mackenzie and Mbako is there. So yeah, also before I go on to St. John's and UConn, Woodson essentially played 6 guys, and I love what he did today. He started Rice, Galloway, Leal, Goody, Renew, and then Ballo came off the bench. Now, Ballo or Renew, one of the two, I think you can play at center and still be the same team. Renew's been playing really well. Look, Renew was great. He had 15 points. He was 7 for 7. But Indiana can only play 6 guys on most nights, or 7, because he didn't play Mackenzie and Mbako. Mackenzie and Mbako, 9 minutes, over 3, over 2, no points. And Mackenzie and Mbako is a talented player. But if his defense is not good, which most nights it isn't, they can't play him. Indiana cannot play him. So if Indiana's going to go on the run here, you're essentially going to have to play 6 guys. Next game against Penn State, I think you need to roll out the same lineup: Galloway, Leal, Rice, Goody, and Renew. And also for spacing purposes. Now, I know they didn't shoot great tonight, but for spacing purposes, you just saw there was a play where they came from the backside. They came from the corner, and they double Renew, and Renew swings it out to Goody in the corner for 3, hits it, just that type of thing. But great win for Indiana. Still got some work to do. But Purdue, they need to find a way to kind of figure it out here and ride the ship. But overall, one of the more impressive halves of college basketball I've seen this season. All right, St. John's and UConn. St. John, let's just keep it real. St. John's, this was wire to wire. St. John's, they put it on them. I think Dan Hurley knows that this team, he wasn't working the refs a lot today. He knows his team's not as good as the previous 2 seasons. UConn, they may win a game in the tourney. Right now, they're around an 8 or 9 seed, but I don't think. I said they were potentially a sleeper if they could get it. Nah, I don't think they are. Look, Alex Caravan played well today. The With Liam McNeely coming back, he was sort of in a facilitator role, but when Liam McNeely was injured and all that, and he couldn't make a shot, today him making shots is huge. Were huge. McNeely did not have a good day. Couldn't he outside of free throws? I mean, 2 of 13, 0 of 6 from 3. Solo Ball had a decent game. They don't really have a real point guard. I'm sorry, Hassan Diarra is not a point guard. I think at center, look, Samson Johnson, he was decent today, but Terrence Reed's the better option at center, I think, as we saw again today. He had 15 points and 6 rebounds in 20 minutes. But this isn't even about UConn. This is St. John. This is about St. John's. First of all, I just want to talk about this. Why is like the first, I think the first round in the quarterfinals are all on Peacock. Like, what are we doing, Big East? Come on. What are we doing, man? But that's that. Come on. What are we doing in the Garden? Yeah, but I believe St. John's has they've either wrapped up the Big East championship, or they can clinch a share. I think they can clinch a share at Butler, which they should be able to do. Yeah, they clinch a share at Butler. So if they win, they will clinch a share of the Big East title at least at Butler. That game on Wednesday night, 9:00. And even if they somehow get upset by Butler, they'll clinch it against Seton Hall in the Garden. They'll probably get it outright because look, they'll win those 2 games. So I think they'll probably get it outright, if I'm being completely honest. And then their last game's at Marquette. They may lose it, but it's gonna be whatever, pretty much. Look, I think the Big East title race, it's pretty much it's over. Like after St. John's beat, I think Creighton in the Garden last weekend, done. They're 17-0 at home. That tells you everything you need to know. The Garden is going to be rocking. The Big East tournament's going to be really fun. The Big East tournament, I feel like, is going to be really fun because I think St. John's is really good. Obviously, St. John's, Creighton, Marquette, UConn, they're all going to the tournament. So those 4, but I think Xavier is a really good team. By the way, Xavier's fighting UConn for that. Xavier and UConn looks like they're on a collision course, potentially, unless Villanova's fighting for a tournament spot. Georgetown's fighting for a tournament spot. And Big East tournaments are just different. And for some reason, these lower teams just when it gets to the Big East tournament, they play and they play hard and they muck up the game and they make it tough. Like I remember the DePaul Villanova game last year. They really mucked it up and made the game just tough. So I'm excited for the Big East tournament. St. John's, just the way they shot in the first half too, really, really took UConn's soul. I think. I mean, 50 points in the first half for St. John's. They only hit 8 threes. They shot 42%, which is obviously fine. RJ Lewis didn't have the greatest efficiency day, but when you look at the team, they're just balanced. They're also defensively. I thought Simeon Wilcher and Kadari Richmond were absolutely fantastic today on the defensive side of the ball. St. John's is a tricky team. If they get the right bracket in March, Patino could potentially get this team here on a run, maybe to San Antonio. Are we saying San Antonio? Maybe their lack of 3-point shooting might come into play in a game, and they lose. But man, St. John's, their credit, Patino, one of the all-time coaches. You hire Rick Pitino, your program will turn around instantly. St. John's, props to you. Another just quick game. Memphis beat FAU. Memphis ranked 22nd. I believe they're going to win the American. If you saw them in Maui, you know their guards are legit. They actually have some decent wins. They lost to Auburn in the finals in Maui, but they beat UConn. They beat Michigan State. They lost to Auburn, but they won on the road at Clemson. They won against Ole Miss. So they have some wins there. For sure. They have some wins there. They're battling with North Texas for the American Championship, but yeah, they'll be in March, obviously. And we'll see if they can make some noise as well. The other big game today was UCLA Ohio State on CBS. Obviously, if you follow my Instagram, the link will be in the description. I posted on Friday. They were doing the thing for Bill Walton. Rest in peace. Today, you had Coach Raftery Iron Eagle wearing tie-dye shirts. Really great. Ohio State is a team that's on the bubble. Ohio State is a team that the tournament started today. They're out. Obviously, this game did not help. UCLA plays really good defense, man. They really just make it tough. Like, if you watch Ohio State today, man, they shooting the ball wise, they were awful. They shot, when you hold a team to basically 32% shooting from the field, 22% from three, you're gonna win the game. You're going to win the game. Sky Clark was good. I thought Eric Daly was terrific. They're tricky because they have a lot of sides with Billadou and Mara. And when they play both of those guys together, you're not going into the paint on them. UCLA, really good team. They'll in March I think they can win a game, maybe get to the second weekend just because of their ability defensively, just to muck. They'll play a good team and they'll just try to muck it up. Their defense just really good. Guards, bigs. They don't have to score 80 to beat you because their defense is really good. So UCLA, and it was Mick Cronin's 500 career win. That's great. for him. Ohio State have lost 3 in a row. Michigan, Northwestern, and now at UCLA. The wheels are coming off. They have their last 3 games are at USC. They've got Nebraska at home, who's also on the bubble, and they're at Indiana. So can they go on a run maybe to try to get back into the tournament? The way the resume looks now, they are going to have to probably win a couple games in the Big Ten tournament. I think Indiana has put themselves in a position where right now they're probably in a position where if they win out, they may not it may not be a requirement to win a game in the Big Ten tournament, but of course you want to at least win a game in the Big Ten tournament to advance, want to keep playing for as long as you can, maximize the games. But looking at the Big Ten standings right now, Indiana, Nebraska fighting for that single bye in the Big Ten tournament. Indiana surpassed some teams today. They were six. Like, look, if they were 6-10, they're right there and potentially not making it. But now you win. You're 16-11 and 7-9 sounds a whole lot better than 15-12 and 6-10. So again, you can make an argument was the shocker of the weekend what Indiana played, how Indiana played, and how they won. But yeah, going back to Saturday, some of the results. Obviously, Friday night, Michigan State, they destroyed Michigan on the glass. That's the reason why they won. They play again in the Big Ten ends on Sunday, March 8th. So that will be a game for the Big Ten title, I think. Auburn, look, Georgia's been a team that's on the bubble. They've been struggling. They played Auburn really tough. Janai Broome really good. Florida was struggling against LSU. Remember, Florida, look, they were able to pull it out. Duke destroyed Illinois. I don't know what's going on in Illinois. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on there. But Duke, are we ready to say they're better than Auburn? Man, that I know. Man, we may not get the matchup potentially. We could, but in the national championship game, maybe depending on the regions, maybe we get them in the Final Four. Man, I don't. It'd be a very entertaining game if we got it. Alabama bounces back. They beat Kentucky. Mark Sears had 30, really good. Houston, this guy LJ Cryer. They beat Iowa State by 9 points. I know Iowa State fans are gonna be like, well, it's not, there are no moral victories. I get all that. But to be without, I believe it was Curtis Jones and Gilbert. I believe it was those two were injured. Yeah. So 2 of your top scorers are injured. And you were in the game late and you really made it tough on Houston, who's really good. If it's not for LJ Cryer's shot making, they probably lose the game. So it wasn't Houston's best performance, obviously, but Iowa State, they played, they battled, immense respect. Arkansas, look, they picked up a nice win. I think they're in the NCAA tournament. They're hitting their stride. The SEC is a battle every night. That SEC tournament is also going to be a bloodbath in Nashville. Speaking of Nashville, Vandy picked up a nice win against Ole Miss. Right now, they're in the field. I believe they have wins against now Ole Miss, Kentucky, and Tennessee. You know, good wins. I'm looking at Arkansas' schedule here. They've got Texas at South Carolina at Vanderbilt, and they've got Mississippi State at home to end it. So yeah, you just wanna get momentum and then go into the SEC tournament, which will be a bloodbath. Oregon upset Wisconsin. Oregon's in the tournament now for sure. Done. If they weren't already, well, I was. If they weren't already, yeah, they had kind of gone on a skid, but they beat Northwestern, beat Rutgers, won at Iowa, then won at Wisconsin. Their final three games are so winnable. USC, Indiana, at Washington. They there's a good chance they could finish 23-8 and 12-8 in the conference. So yeah, Tennessee beat Texas A&M. Chaz Lanier had 30. What did I say? I said it was going to be about who's best player. But I said it would come down to Chaz Lanier and Wade Taylor. I said Zakai Ziegler will be an X factor for Tennessee. Wade Taylor, he had 18 points. He was not efficient though. He was 10 to 12 at the line, 4-15, 0 of 9 from 3. Look at what Chaz Lanier did. He had 30 points. He was 10 of 18 and 8 for 13 from 3. Tennessee hit 13 threes. Zakai Ziegler had the big dagger at the end. So, yeah, college basketball looks, it's wild. Right now, Tennessee is right in the 4 spot for the double bye. That's where they are right now. That's where they are right now. And look, March is going to be exciting. Let's see, Monday night here. North Carolina plays at Florida State. North Carolina's on the bubble. Michigan plays at Nebraska. Michigan trying to bounce back after the Michigan State loss. And Houston at Texas Tech in Lubbock. Texas Tech beat them earlier in the year. So that is it for this Sunday edition of the Don't Argue with the Facts podcast. I'm your host, Noah Love. We're almost a week from March, which means March Madness will be beginning very soon. And until next time, have a good night. God bless, and see you.